Today I'm going to talk about the map function in Hilltop Manager. To use maps, go to View, Maps, and a new pane for maps appears. As usual, you can drag the splitter bars to change the size of the map pane, and Manager will save the layout of the panes when you close it. How it works is that Manager goes and grabs a map from a server and draws your sites on it. This is the default map and it's from Landcare Research. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of how to configure maps, let's look at this one in a bit more detail. Like for graphs, you can zoom maps by clicking and holding the left mouse button. Drag to draw a rectangle over the area you want to zoom, let go, and Manager will redraw that part of the map. You can zoom repeatedly, and Manager will remember your zoom sequence. This way you can use page up and page down to move between zooms, and home and end will take you to the first and last map you drew. You can zoom in and out using the mouse wheel as well. It's the usual convention of pushing the wheel away from you to zoom in and bringing it toward you to bring it back. If you're mouseless, holding down Control and pressing the up arrow or down arrow will give you the same result. Just be aware that when you're zooming using the mouse wheel or the arrows, the zoom is done from the center of the map. It's independent of where the cursor is, so you may need to pan the map to get your area of interest into the center first. To pan across a map, press and hold the right mouse button and then drag the mouse. The map is moving with the mouse, and when I release the right button, the map is redrawn. Page up and page down will take you through your pan sequence too. This differs to the graphing functions. If you zoom or pan off into the ocean somewhere and can't find your way back, there is an if all else fails button, but I'm going to keep that under wraps until later. You'll have noticed the maps take a few moments to load. This is because Hilltop is going off to get a new map from a server each time you do anything. If you go to zoom or pan but change your mind mid-flight, just hit escape before you let the mouse button go, and this will stop the process. This way you won't have to wait for the new map to arrive before you can undo your mistake. These numbers at the bottom of the window here are the easting and northing of where the cursor is on the map. The spots on the map show the locations of our sites, and these are listed in the tree control. There are only 4 sites in our file, but if you have many sites, you may wish to restrict what is shown on the tree control. You can do this by selecting a group of sites. You hold down Control, click and hold the left mouse button, and drag the rectangle over the sites that you want to select. You can see that the rectangle is thicker than the one that appears when you're zooming, and this just confirms that we're selecting sites and not zooming the graph. If you forget to hold down Control and get the zooming rectangle, don't forget you can just press Escape before the zoom happens. You can let go of the Control key once the rectangle appears. Once you've got your rectangle over the sites you want, let the mouse button go and these sites will appear on the tree control. Clicking on a site will add that site to the list. From the tree control, you can click on a measurement and get a graph as usual. To repopulate the tree with all your sites, click on All Sites. Conversely, you can identify a site on the map by clicking on it in the tree control. You can see here that this site has changed from a red marker to a yellow bullet point. You can apply filters to your map to show only the sites that have a particular measurement, or have the colour of the markers indicate the status of the most recent data. You select your filter from the filter combo box. For example, here 3 of my 4 sites have flow data recorded. You add or edit filters by clicking this ellipsis button to open the filter editor. Let's add a filter to give some information about the most recent data collected at each site. I'll click Add New and name it Flow Range. Select my measurement. For incremental data like rainfall, you'd need to provide an interval over which Manager can calculate a total. We can define the filter in terms of the range of the data or its timeliness. For a data range filter, we enter the minimum and maximum values we want to control the colour for. Here, red will be used when the data is at 0 QMX, and I'll just change this to green for good contrast, and green for when data is at or above 20 QMX. I'll just talk a little more about this colour bar while we're here. It shows a progression around the colour wheel, and toggling the increasing hue checkbox changes the direction around the wheel. Some colour combinations are familiar. We could go from green to red with decreasing hue, which is a traffic light. If we go from blue to red with increasing hue, it only has blue, magenta and red. Going the other way, we get extra colours, and this is the colour sequence that is often used for isotherms. I'll just pop this back to the way it was, red and green. Save the filter and close. We select the filter from the combo box, and you can see here that we've got one yellow marker, which is halfway along the spectrum, so must be somewhere around 10 QMEX, one orange one about quarter of the way along, and one almost at the lowest end. If you're thinking these values are a bit screwy, you're right, it's just designed to show you how it works. Don't go worrying about the state of the rivers in Hawke's Bay. Let's make a filter based on timeliness now. For timeliness, we set the maximum lateness that we want to have as the most extreme colour. During a flood, you might set water level sites at 1 hour, for example. Here, the marker will be red when the data is up to date, and green when the most recent value was recorded more than 3 days ago. I'll save and close that, select my filter, and you'll see that these are all green, and that's what I'd expect as I'm not using current data. You can have a number of maps defined in the Hilltop tables, and you can configure them to suit. Go to Configure, Maps, and you can see that the map we're using here is from Landcare Research. You can change the map to use by selecting from the list, or click the ellipsis button to add maps or edit map details. To add a map, you would give your map a name, enter the URL of the map. It must be a server that is available through HTTP and accepts a request based on Web Map Service version 1.1. Such maps will usually have a number of layers available, and you choose from the ones on offer. This is the Landcare Research webpage where the default map is from, and if I scroll down to the bottom here, you can see all the maps that they have available. To have multiple layers on one map, pop them all in here separated by a comma and no spaces. This second layer here is just the copyright statement that we're required to use. You can store a comment with the map if you like. It isn't displayed on the map, but helps you remember what each map is for. Once you're done, click Save and Close. Here you can change the colour of the markers, and here is where you change the size. This number indicates relative size. You can adjust the amount each click of the mouse wheel zooms a map, here if you so desire. Now this bit is important. You must have the correct projection for the site location stored in the Hilltop Sites table, or you'll likely find your sites floating in the ocean somewhere. Manager will guess the projection by looking at the existing sites, and you can change that setting here if it's not correct. Now, this here is the If All Else Fails button. If you've zoomed out to Blue Yonder and can't find your way back, click here and Manager will redraw the map around your sites. If you do this and find some sites out to sea, it'll be where the eastings and northings are wrong. At this point, you should probably run the checks command in the site editor and ask to see sites outside your region, or outside the country for that matter. And that is your introduction to Hilltop Maps. Thanks for watching.